Hello everyone. Today we are going to be discussing the third grade standards for area and perimeter. So first I'm going to discuss what is area and then what is the perimeter of a plane shape. A plane figure or a plane shape just is anything that can lie flat on a surface in a plane. We think about plane geometry. We're thinking what geometric figures can lay flat, and then we do something with them. So let's talk about area and perimeter principles. The area is the amount of space inside of an object. We want to know if we have an object, the area is the amount of space inside of that. We measure area with units, square units. So as you can see inside of this shape here, we have square units. That's why we say the area of the floor, if you want to tile your floor, we're measuring that in square feet because the objects we're using to measure the area are squares. So we're measuring this by squares. This is the space inside of a shape or a figure. This is kind of a rectilinear figure, but I wanted to show you all just so you can see how we measure it. So if I erase this and I wanted to find the area, what we're essentially doing is counting the number of tiles that we have. So if I count the tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We see that this figure, the area would be 15 square units. We don't know what we're measuring by here. It could be feet, it could be inches, it could be yards, it could be miles. It would just depend on the situation. So this would be 15 square units. There are 15 squares inside of this unit. Working with perimeter, the perimeter is everything along the outside of a figure. Everything along the outside of a figure. So we're not concerned about what's inside of it. We're worried about the distance around the outside. Okay, so area, inside, perimeter is outside of a shape. So if I wanted to measure the distance around this shape, and take these numbers away, we would have to count the lengths of the sides. And the way I like to do this, just for starting out, we're just going to put a little dash each time I count. So I'm going to start here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the corners are tricky. You have to count both sides. You have to count this is 6, this is 7, because this is distance around the outside. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And here's another corner that they're tricky. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So we know the perimeter of this figure would be 26 units. It's not square units this time because we're not measuring the distance around with squares. The area we're measuring with squares, but the distance around the outside of the object we are not. So this is just a basic introduction of area and perimeter, and we're going to do some more examples as we go along. So thinking about rectangles, this is what we see the majority of the time. We're going to be using squares and rectangles to find area and perimeter. So this rectangle is displayed in what we know as an array, or we use that in multiplication. So it's pretty much, it's the same thing. It's just a different way to represent area. With area, we know we need to find the area, we're going to look at the number of rows. Well, we're going to find the side lengths first. So let's find the side lengths. So we know that this is 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 rows. So we know that the length of our outside here is going to be 4. And then we're going to look at our columns. Let's look at our columns. We can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our distance up here is going to be 6. For the sake of teaching, let's say that these squares are our lengths, they're in inches. So let's say this is 4 inches by 6 inches. So if we're thinking about area, we know that area is going to be is equal to length, which is your long side, length times your width. Okay, so length times width. We could also do repeated addition, lots of other things, or just purely counting. But when we get into bigger numbers, that's going to be tough. So multiplication is going to be our most efficient way to think about this. So if we do want to find the area of this rectangle, we're going to do our length, which is 6 inches, times our width, which is 4 inches. So 6 times 4, we could count this up. So if we wanted to count up, we could just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That gets the job done, but it's not always going to be tiled for us. So we could count the tiles if you wanted to do that. You could tile your rectangle if it was empty with 4 rows and 6 columns. But our most efficient way to solve this is going to be to multiply. And we know that 4 times 6 is equal to 24 square inches, because we are measuring this area. We're measuring this area with square units, square inches for this one. Okay, so it takes 24 squares to cover this rectangle. Think if this was your floor and you're going to tile it, it would take 24, or if we're working in feet, it would take 24 feet to cover this up. So there's an example where it's already tiled, how we could multiply to find the area. If we're thinking about perimeter, we know that this side length is 4, this side length is 6. We don't care about what's going on in the middle anymore with perimeter, do we? We don't care. We want to know the distance around the outside of this figure when we're thinking about perimeter. I like to use an example. My dog, she likes to run and play, but she's not very good about staying out of the road. So she has to have a fence to help her, remind her that she can't run off. So our perimeter is the distance around the outside. My dog's name is JoJo, and we want to keep her in the yard. We want to keep her in the yard. So we got to put a fence up. So let's turn our inches into feet for this example. We're going to use JoJo as an example. My dog, she's pretty cute. We want to find the distance around the yard that I would need to put up a fence. So we know that because of our array, we know that our distance 1, 2, 3, 4. This side length is 4 feet. This side length is 6 feet. But we also need to consider this bottom side down here and this side over here. But since this is a rectangle, we know that rectangles have equal sides, 2 pairs of equal sides. So we know that if this is 4, we can count here and see that 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be 4 feet as well. And if this is 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's a rectangle, we know that this bottom side is going to be 6 feet too. To find the perimeter, we could go around and count like we did the last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Be careful with the corners. You got to count all the sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we see that our perimeter by counting is 20 feet. Another way we can do this is that is more efficient, and probably the preferred way we want you to do this is to add up the side lengths. So we know that the perimeter, we're going to add the side lengths. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to add 6 plus 6 plus 4 plus 4. We know that 6 and 4 is 10. 6 and 4 is 10. So 10 plus 10 is 20. That's what we saw earlier. So the perimeter is equal to 20 feet. It would take 20 feet of fence to fence in my yard so my dog Jojo could not get out. So perimeter, you're adding up the side lengths. So add 6 plus 6 plus 4 plus 4. Compare that to area where we multiply 4 by 6. We're measuring the inside. Perimeter, we're measuring the outside. Area, we're measuring the inside. We're going to do a couple more examples. This rectangle doesn't have the tiles. So we're going to practice these without the tiles. So let's compute our area. So remember, area is equal to length times width. So length is your long side, width is your shorter side. So my long side, and we're not multiplying all 4 numbers, remember? We're just multiplying one of your long sides, if it's a rectangle, and then one of your short sides. Because if we were going to tile this, we could tile it. 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what that looks like. We don't multiply all 4 sides. We're just multiplying length times width because we're kind of building it into an array. And if we multiplied all 4 sides, that would not be an accurate area. So we're going to multiply 8 times 5. We know that 8 times 5 is equal to 40. We have feet here. That's our units. Our units are what we're measuring. So we have 40 square feet. That's our area. Our perimeter, remember, we want to know the distance around the outside of the shape. So our perimeter is going to be what? Let's think about it. This side length is 5. This side length is 8. This side length is 5. This side length is 8. So we're going to do 8 plus 8 for this one and this one. That's equal to what? 16. And we're going to do 5 plus 5. And that's equal to 10. 16 plus 10 is 26 feet. That would be the distance around the outside of this rectangle. It's not the area inside. No, it's just the distance around the outside. So for this shape, we have that the area is 40 square feet because we multiplied 8 times 5, and the perimeter would be 8 plus 8, the distance around the outside. Add all the 8, and then add 5 and 5, and we got 26. The last idea I want to discuss is using the distributive property to help us find the area. Sometimes there's going to be 2 rectangles put together just like this. You can see here's one, and then we want to find the area of this one too. But sometimes our numbers are going to be challenging. So the idea is that you can multiply 2 times 10, 2 times 10 to find the area of this rectangle. And then you're going to add it to the area of this rectangle here. We know one side length is 3. We don't know what the other side length is, but really we do because there's a 2 here. Okay? We know that this side length, because this is a rectangle, and this side length are equivalent. So if this is 2, this is also going to be 2. We can just go ahead and write that in. And so we have 2 times 10 as the area of this rectangle. We're going to add that to the area of this rectangle, which is going to be what? Length is 3, width is 2. We can see that 2 times 10 is 20, plus 3 times 2 is 6. And that was a little bit easier to figure, and that's equal to 26 square units. But we can see that the total length of this, just to check, is 10 plus 3, right? So we actually have 2 times 10 plus 3 is 13, which 13s are pretty hard to multiply by. So I can check, and we can do repeated addition. 13 plus 13, 6, 26. It's the same thing. But doing it this way helped us out because these are easier factors to work with. So this is using the distributive property to help us find the area, which is a good strategy to use and something we'll be practicing a lot. But basically we're just finding the area of one rectangle, then adding it to the area of another rectangle. The tricky part here is remembering that this side length over here is 2 because this is 2. It's a rectangle. They have the same length, so we can apply this 2 because it's labeled here to this side length over here. So I hope this is a good introduction to area and perimeter. We'll be practicing a lot, and hopefully this will help us along this unit. Thanks so much.